Well, hello everyone. I'm Stella Hewer from Edunique, the Stress Whisperer, and I'm back. Today I thought I would talk about the subject of stress. Because under lockdown and now during this period of time, most of us, I don't actually know anyone who is not experiencing some form of stress or another. And even before COVID-19, we live in a stressful world. And so many, we live in a complicated world. And so the question comes up, what is normal and what is abnormal? How do we know what is normal stress and what is dysfunctional stress? Here are a few questions. If we look at the types of people that we meet and considering what's normal and what is abnormal. So, do you know someone who is chronically miserable? Is that normal? Someone who's always involved in some form of conflict or another. Someone who manipulates others into getting things done their own way. Those who control others through fear or bullying tactics. Someone who cannot keep their job because they're always clashing with someone. Someone who always blames somebody else for their problems. And they have no insight into their contribution towards the problem. What about those who have huge anger tantrums? Those who are scared of rejection and criticism, so they withdraw from people, they almost become hermits. Is that normal? Someone who is so needy emotionally and clingy that they're like a bottomless pit that you cannot fill. What about someone who has a compulsion to always rescue lame ducks? What about someone who always has to put others down or criticize or belittle for themselves to feel good? Are these normal behaviors? Okay, let's put things in context. We're all human and we all are imperfect. So none of us act perfectly, make the right decisions all the time, say the right things. We're human and we have to give ourselves a certain amount of slack for being human. So yes, we do make mistakes and sometimes we all get cross or we all feel stressed about something or there is conflict in a relationship. There is a certain amount of so-called stress because of our human condition. But how do we differentiate between what's normal and what's abnormal? There are basically three things that we can look at to see whether our stress is normal. But perhaps before I tell you that, let me tell you that for years, I was stressed for years. But because it was ongoing, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I really wasn't coping well with all what I thought was all my responsibilities. And I always felt stressed. My stomach was always in a knot and I was getting exhausted. I wasn't feeling well. And I went to the doctor and he took all sorts of tests and then he announced that, Stella, there's nothing wrong with you. All the tests came back normal. Nothing wrong with your hormones or anything else. So I remember saying to him, yeah, thank you, that's great, but I'm always feeling stressed. I said to him, my stomach's always in a knot, but I guess that's normal. I guess everybody's stressed. I will never forget, he turned to me and he said, Stella, it's not normal, it's you. At the time, I thought he was rather rude. I told him afterwards. But anyway, and he encouraged me to go and speak to a psychologist. Well, now I really thought he was rude. Anyway, after a couple of days, I decided, you know what, I'm so uncomfortable and I am stressed. I am anxious and my stomach's always in a knot. Like, why don't I just go and speak to a psychologist? If I don't like them, I'll never go back. I want a medical aid. Let me just go and speak to one, which I did. It was the best thing I ever did. Anyway, the point of me telling you that story in the light of this particular video is that stress went on so long for me that I, in fact, perceived it. Well, it must be normal, and I'm sure everybody else is stressed as well. Anyway, I came to learn that no, it was me, and there was something I needed to do. So now that leads me into the 3 things that are not normal. Number 1, something happens and it causes us personal distress. So this is something, we all get upset, things happen in life. But if something is on an ongoing basis, causing us personal distress, then it's not normal. Then we need to do something. The other thing is, if something interferes or causes problems in our life roles, like family, occupation, or part of society, that's not normal. So if our stress is impacting on our physical health, maybe on our relationships, maybe it's impacting on our ability in the workplace, then it's not normal. And the third one is if it results in harm to self or to others. So those are the three criteria to measure whether our stress is normal or not. So let's just unpack that a little bit. In the light of COVID-19 and the lockdown, a lot of us are experiencing stress. So let me put that out right here and now, that just because we're experiencing stress doesn't mean we're abnormal. The world has been turned on its head. So certain anxiety, stress is going to be inevitable. And let me tell you, I've been following a number of webinars from psychologists. And one psychologist this morning admitted to, in the last 2-3 weeks, things have got worse, even for her, to the point that she has very vivid dreams at night. And it got to the point where last night she was actually nervous to go to bed because of the vivid nature of her dreams. And it was like a movie that was unpacking and unfolding. So the point is, it doesn't matter who we are. No one is immune to being a human. You can't be more human than another human or less human than another human. We're all human. So stress is going to be part of what we're experiencing. But the biggest thing is, what are we going to do about it? As I mentioned, the best thing I ever did was to actually go for psychological help. It opened up a whole new world. Let me tell you, I was nervous. It was frightening to be booked into a clinic. And one always has the opinion, oh, now I've had a nervous breakdown, I'm never going to be the same again. I'm going to be left with this weakness. Will I always be cracked? But let me tell you, it was the most amazing experience in hindsight, because it opened up a huge amount of growth for me. So I have a great respect for those who work in the helping profession. And I know that there are so many things that we can work on, because basically that our level of stress, you can say that it is in relation to the life skills we have. If we are lacking in life skills in any regard, our stress levels will climb. So what are some life skills? Let's take, for example, conflict management. If we do not have conflict management skills, we could always be in conflict. And conflict is a part of life, but we need to know how to manage it. So if we're having an inordinate amount of stress because of conflict in relationships, then maybe we're lacking in the skills that we need. It's all part of emotional intelligence. Communication skills, knowing how to communicate with others so that we don't cause offense and that we get what we want out of the situation so that everybody wins. These are skills. Learning about boundaries. boundaries in relationships. To me, that is one of it, and I can perhaps do a video on that soon, on boundaries. One of the most amazing things to come to realize, how we crisscross over everybody's boundaries and allow other people to crisscross over ours. And of course, that gives stress. It's like having people walk in and out of your home with no regard for you being there, or you walking in and out of somebody else's home uninvited. So these are different life skills. Learning to say no. Learning to understand what our own personal needs are, what our values are, and to live within that. These are all part of life skills. So my message basically is, if something is really causing us distress over the long term, don't suppress it, because the more we suppress it, it will come back and bite us. And it takes up all our emotions sitting here. And then all we need is something else to happen, and we will not have the resources to deal with that event or stressor that comes into our life. So don't be afraid of getting help, speaking to someone, doing research, whatever it takes to get better. Because isn't it better to be able to cope in this life and to be able to make rational decisions and to be able to have a measure of happiness no matter what else is going on in our lives? So that is my message, to be able to go for help if we need it. For me, it was the best decision that I ever made. And really, my avoidance was based in ignorance. But now that I look back, I'm actually amazed at how many people will go through years of misery and not go for help, either because they're too proud, or because they don't trust the medical profession, or they don't believe that help's possible, or they've always been that way. Maybe they don't want to come out with the things that are actually worrying them. And let me tell you, there's nothing that you can tell a psychologist or a counselor that they haven't heard before. We are all humans. So as we go through COVID-19 now too, recognize that you're not abnormal, in the sense that we're all going through a certain amount of stress and depression, and we could be on a bit of a roller coaster. I certainly took a dive for a few days last week. But I must say, I came back this Monday today. I have a better attitude towards life to carry on. And I've been greatly encouraged to see the authenticity and honesty of the psychologists who are holding online webinars, admitting that they too are affected. Humans are humans, no matter what our career or our profession is. But let me tell you, there is help out there. But the problem is, it takes work. It's not just a case of swallowing a tablet. It takes work. We have to be committed to understanding where we lack in life skills, and then to do the work to make those changes. And it can be difficult. But we want to have short-term pain for long-term gain. But unfortunately, as humans, we often choose the other way. We don't want that short-term pain. And so we choose actually long-term pain, because it carries on and on. Right, so that's my message for you today. I hope that you have a reasonably good week, and that you all stay safe, and that we all reach out and help one another as best as we can. So that is all for me for today. And I am from Edunique, the Stress Whisperer. Bye for now.